Hi everyone, I'm Kobe and welcome to my show. Today I have special guests with me, Gus Buck. If you want to introduce yourself, Gus.
Hi, I'm Gus Buck. I'm a senior here at Bellarmine. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, and I'm a comm sports admin double major.
All right, Gus, well thanks for joining me today. So I heard that you are involved with a lot on campus. So I just kind of want to know what you're involved in and stuff like that.
So specifically, I'm president of Alpha Delta Gamma, which is the social fraternity here on campus. I am president of the club soccer team, which is BUFC. On top of that, I'm also a member of the WOW team, so I help with freshman orientation. I play about any and every intramural that I can. I'm on the practice team for the women's basketball program. I serve as Valor, the school mascot, probably one of my favorite pastimes. And on top of that, I just try to go to as many events on campus that I can. I'm planning to volunteer as a tutor with the Student Success Center later this semester. I just like to stay as involved as I can on campus. There's probably something I'm forgetting, to be honest.
So why is it that you stay so involved on campus?
So I came in freshman year with the mindset of try everything at least once. If you don't like it, just don't go back. And I haven't really regretted that to any point yet, so I was really involved my freshman year. I went to a bunch of different clubs. I tried out almost every single club sport just to see which one I liked the most, which one kind of fit best. And I stuck with club soccer, so I didn't really have time to go to the other ones, unfortunately. And I was like this in high school. I was super involved. I was in any and every club I could be, on top of playing 2 or 3 sports and being a theater kid. It's just always been what I've done.
Awesome. Well, I also heard you mention that your favorite one was being Valor. So if you just want to, first of all, just tell me how you got involved as being Valor.
So it started, I actually was the mascot in high school. I went to a football game of my brother's when I was in middle school, and the students were all there cheering, going crazy, and I was like, how do I get involved in that? So of course my brain thought, well, I'll just be the mascot because it'll give me an excuse to help lead all the cheers. And my school didn't have a mascot costume, so I had to build my own suit, and that was a lot of fun. And then I just kind of kept with it all through high school. And I got to school here during week of welcome. I started talking to a friend of mine. Her name was Corey Carter, and she is on the cheer team, or well, she graduated, but she found out that I was a mascot in high school and was like, hey, we have an open spot, you should come try out. And so I was like, oh, okay, maybe. And she was like, yeah, Madison Lauder, who was my WOW leader, is also on the team, so you should talk to her about it. And so I talked to them and ended up going to the tryout, and they were like, okay, have you gotten all your paperwork turned in? I was like, yep. And they were like, and you want to be our mascot? And I was like, yep. And they were like, all right, congratulations, the job is yours. And I've kind of just run with it ever since. It wasn't something that like I came to school knowing. Like some athletes obviously come in to play a sport. I didn't come to Bellarmine to be a mascot, but I ended up as Valor, who wasn't even named when I started, but I honestly don't regret it at all. It's been a lot of fun.
So you mentioned that you had to build your own mascot costume in high school. What was your mascot and what did you do to build that? It's very interesting.
So actually, the funny thing was we were the Cavaliers, which is just French for knight. As far as I know, I could be wrong about that. But we had, I think, all I had was the helmet, and it actually looked exactly like Valor's helmet now. And I went to Johnny Brock's, bought a knight suit, flipped it inside out, plastered our school letters on the front, bought myself a sword, and got a feather to put out the back of the helmet. And I showed up to, it was our like 4th or 5th football game of the season. It was our homecoming game. We were playing our big rivals. Like the mayor of St. Louis was there. Everyone came out. It was a great time. And that was where I debuted the suit. They actually bought me what they said was a more professional looking suit for my next year. They wanted like a Cleveland Cavaliers, floppy hat, kind of frontier looking guy. We ended up getting a knockoff Michigan State Spartan. So that wasn't, the best, and it didn't look anything like our logo, but nonetheless. So it wasn't honestly that hard to go from being a French knight to a knight. But the name Valor is obviously a lot more recognizable because my high school mascot was just Tilge, TLGE, and that was the initials of the 4 guys who came up with the idea that we would be the Cavaliers.
So how is the suit, your Valor suit? Is that a better upgrade from your old one, or?
It's definitely, I feel, a lot like easier to move around, and it's a lot more breathable, especially from the one I built myself. That one was, I mean, it was kind of falling apart, but the one that they bought me was like, it had a giant muscle suit, and I like could not breathe in that thing. The only way for air to get in or out of that suit was through my eye hole that was about that big. And so having the night suit now where I'm just putting on basically a robe with a bunch of basically feels like putting on shin guards to play soccer. Like it's there, but it's not really suffocating or you don't really notice it. Just with the armor pieces everywhere. That is kind of, I'd say, an upgrade in terms of the quality and the feel. I feel a lot better. I feel like I look a lot nicer, a lot more presentable. The cape always seems to be a little wrinkled up, and my cape back in high school was like always out and flowing, so that's like the only difference of if I had to pick the high school one over my current one. But other than that, it's honestly, it's the idea of what it's supposed to look like is exactly the same, but just the quality of the suit here and my kind of freedom to move around in it is a lot easier.
So I know that you travel to Daytona with the team, which is in April, which is hot. How was it being in Florida in April at the beach with the Valor costume on?
So thankfully, the hotels we do competitions in have air conditioning, but I did have to walk usually from one building to another through the street in the hot sun at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And other than camp this past summer, where I'd have to go walk around on campus for 2 hours and then also do skits at night, that was like the longest I'd ever had the suit on, because at games I'm obviously able to take it off and kind of relax at halftime, but walking, that's also always inside. It's always air conditioned. Sometimes it's kind of cold in Freedom Hall if it's not super packed, but I usually have the adrenaline there to kind of keep me going. I kind of had the same thing in Florida because it was my first time competing. I was super excited. And like I'd planned out a lot of the routine myself, so I got to like spin my sword around, do a bunch of cool things, and I was super excited for it. So I was just ready to go. But afterwards, usually, honestly, it was harder having to carry the suit because we'd walk from our hotel to where we competed, and that was kind of a long walk at times. And so walking through the hot baking sun, usually hopefully covered in sunscreen, but with the suit like all on my back was just was honestly probably the hardest thing. I never really noticed when I had it on running around because everyone, you know, you're the mascot. Everyone wants to take pictures with you. Everyone wants to come hang out with you.
So I know that you mentioned how excited you were to compete at Daytona, but my final question for you is, what has been your favorite part about being Valor and your favorite memory?
I don't know that I have one specific memory because, like I said, going to Daytona was a ton of fun. You can look at winning the ASUN conference. That's probably been the most electrifying event I've done. On a personal level, this past summer camp was a lot of fun because it was the first time I got to go to cheer camp, and I didn't even know I was going to be competing as a mascot. I just thought I may have to do a few embarrassing dances because I was told they were doing last year, and I hadn't gone. So I went not knowing what was going to happen. It was at U of L, and I was competing against Louis, who I thought, no shot, I have no chance. This guy can do flips in his suit. He's already wearing the suit while we're all just walking in. I'm not even dressed yet. So I was like, man, there is no shot I can beat him. And I ended up getting a perfect score in both of my graded categories. And I ended up winning best overall mascot, which was something I didn't know existed and actually got me an automatic bid to my national competition, which, again, I didn't know existed, but I'm super excited for this year. I think that means we get to stay in Daytona an extra day too, so I think the team will be pretty happy about that, give them a day off after their competition. But overall, kind of the best experience I would say is just from a standpoint as Valor, would be going back to that ASUN championship game. Over the years, I've kind of embodied the personality of the mascot, and I always like to joke with people that I'm the mascot of Bellarmine. It's not Valor, because as much as I'm in the suit or at events, I'm as myself on campus even more, and I try and get to know everyone, and I try and just embody like a decent person who can be a friend to everyone, because that's always what I've wanted to be. And obviously I think that's kind of how Valor's seen too. That's what every mascot should be. You represent your school. You're the person that everyone knows on campus, and everyone always likes seeing you at things. So in embodying that character, I've come to feel like Bellarmine is part of my home, kind of away from home. So even though I as a person am not from here, I had to build my own home here. But Bellarmine was already Valor's home. He is the knight. This is where he lives. Everything about Bellarmine is what he represents. So I've come to look at Bellarmine's achievements as Valor's achievements. This is his home, so he feels like a part of the campus. And so anything that the school, the campus, the university accomplishes, obviously Valor feels is a part of him. And just having that view of campus, or that view of Bellarmine, is honestly what's been the most worthwhile part of being the mascot. That's the investment that I get back.
All right. Well, thank you so much for all of that. We look forward to seeing you out on the court this year. Thank you all for tuning into my show, and I will see you next week.